If you want to defeat Satan, you need to know how he operates. So here we are looking at one of the most famous stories in the Bible of creation, back in Genesis. We've got the tree, we've got Eve, and we've got an S, which stands for serpent because I'm not very good at drawing. What is one thing that the serpent said to Eve? What is the one thing that led to this entire fall of humanity? It's this question here. It's the start of that question. Did God really say? Did God really say? That is the root. This was the root of the fall of humanity. And in one word, that is one thing. It's deception. Now, if we look at what the Bible says, it said the serpent was the craftiest. So that is the enemy's primary weapon. Because if you think about it, right, in the life of a believer, it's not like the enemy is going to come and throw fire at you or throw you off a building. He doesn't need to do that to attack you in your life. All he needs is this thing, which is meant to be your brain / your mind. If he can get in there, then he'll just control the whole thing. And he knows that. So craftiness is the enemy's primary weapon. And the point really here is, if we draw a line, the enemy does not need you to hate God. Satan doesn't need that. He doesn't need you to hate God. All he needs you to do is question him. That's it. If the enemy can make you question him, question his word, then the enemy starts to win. The enemy starts to win. And there's a fun fact. If you look at an aeroplane, right, I'm going to try and draw an aeroplane. We'll say this is an aeroplane, right? And you know that airplanes run on autopilot, right? So the autopilot is meant to keep them going straight to their destination. Now, it's actually a fact that if you set the autopilot just 1 degree off, so if you just set the autopilot 1 degree off like that, it doesn't look, and that's not even 1 degree, like that's a few, right? But if you imagine what 1 degree is, it's probably like here, right? Or even smaller. The plane will end up in a completely different location than where it was programmed to go. So let's apply this to our mind. Let's say our mind is going toward Jesus. All the enemy needs to do is that. It doesn't take that. It doesn't take you going in a completely different direction. It doesn't take you going over here. It doesn't take you going backwards over here. All it takes is this little thing right here. Just get you 1 degree off, because the enemy knows if you continue going in this path, you're just going to get further and further and further. And that's how it starts. It starts as a very small little minor like that. And sometimes you don't even notice it. But if it keeps going, if you allow it to keep going and going and going and going, you end up over here. And over here, you're nowhere near Jesus, right? So that is how the enemy comes into your mind. That is how the enemy operates. This one word here is deception, because we can see that at the fall of the entirety of humanity, of God's creation, it started with this thing here. Did God really say?